What is up with you? Boy, are you funny. You gotta love
Hold,
our
hold. We
moderator.
are
Hello, everybody.
live.
Captain Tommy Silva. We are live. How are you, Liz?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm excited. I really am. This is I think it's so cool that we're getting together. The ships collide thing I think is fantastic. I really do. I think it's a very cool subject. The subject of addiction in um, especially in the people who are no longer in the Scientology cult. I think that there's way more to it than people talk about, and I love that you have the courage to talk about this. I think it's fantastic, and it's going to give more people the courage to talk about it, which is always a good thing.
Right? Because
Tough day.
the main reason that I love talking to you is that it's this scenario where I did not work well in AA. I did not work well in NA because I grew up in a cult. I'm not trying to join another one.
Right. They felt very similar, didn't they?
It felt spot on. And
Yeah.
so there's been some news where it's made me question things, and it's like it's almost like I wanted to be numb again. I know my mental health is okay, but I almost wanted to be numb because listening to something where there's a chance that I'm not going to get to see my dad till he's on his deathbed was, it almost struck a chord, and that chord was just, wow. I then also got like news where it's like I'm at 830 subscribers. So it's like I have all these people listening, and it's like all these people want to spread the word. I've been clean off cocaine for 3 years.
Good for
And
you.
every day is a challenge. Every day is, I don't need you today. I don't want you.
Were you snorting it, smoking it, shooting it? Or how were you doing it?
I was doing like, okay, I don't do needles except for tattoos and piercings.
Okay.
I would snort it until my nose started bleeding. And then once my nose started bleeding, I became a gum surfer.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But 3
So
years, good for you.
Yeah. And so I'm very proud of myself, but it's like when things get rough, I found myself in that situation. I had before the 3 years, I had 10 years clean before that 3 years. Before I fell off the wagon and sniffed my way through something.
Thought you might have figured out how to do it. That
Yeah,
happens
I'm
when
like,
we take enough time off. We think, you know what, I could probably figure out.
It's been a long enough time. Like we're
Yeah, I
good.
think I
I'm
could do
good.
it.
I'm just, and then I made it
Never
through
works out.
that day, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. And I was like, oh fuck, I got to start over at 1. Fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry, and didn't mean to cuss early.
You're good. You're good. So we'll be okay.
But it's like that situation where now we're going against a cult, and this cult is notorious for pushing all of your buttons. I've also have 1 year sober because I kept looking for the bottom of the answer at the bottom of the bottle.
Okay.
And no, I don't mean kinda. I mean full on. Give me a giant thing of vodka. I'm going to polish that son of a bitch off, and the answer is going to be at the bottom.
That's right. You're not going to drink it. Yeah, I had a wife who would not stop. I promise you, like it was impossible for her to stop until the bottle was empty. Like that was and it is a particular brand of it's a particular brand of alcohol abuse disorder. It comes in a million different varieties, but yours is one that I am intimately familiar with. And what's sad is that we find ourselves beyond our own control, like the who in their right mind thing. When you start to drink to those levels, you literally have alcohol making the decisions, and things happen that you wake up and you go, "Good Lord, I did what?" And
you have no memory.
You have no memory of it, and truthfully, you're not at the helm. This is a difficult thing for people to live with after the fact, because once you are returned to your sanity, and that really is what happens, you get back to where you're sane. And once that happens, you're still left with the guilt of the things that you did before. I think it's super important for people in recovery to realize that when you get to that phase of addiction, you know, you made the decision to drink that first shot. That first shot made every other decision for the rest of the freaking night, right? You had a backseat ride from that point forward. And you know, that to me, it made the life of crime easier to live with. You know, once I stopped living the way that I was living, the realization that I never would have done any of that crap if it wasn't for heroin, you know. But you made a really cool point. You said you wanted to be numb today, right? And the realization that's what our substances do, right? So the goal for me always is the tool bag, the never ending tool bag that gets me through that period where I feel like, because for me, heroin was 8 hours of nothing, right? No guilt, no nothing, literally, right? You know, people walk in and say, your loved one just passed, and you'd go, all right, you know,
Like,
we'll deal with that one later, because there's no
dealing with shit. Like, I could work when I was high. I could absolutely work when I was high as a kite, because I was a machine. There was no emotions, and each person has their own, you know, their body reacts differently. For me, I had zero emotions. I went from crying all the time to numb. And it got to a point where it was like, I had to find the real me. And I've fallen. It's like we all fall down the stairs occasionally, but the trick is what you do once you get up from those stairs. And I love that on your channel, you talk about getting up from the stairs. You talk about, if you fall, it's okay. If you need a phone call, it's okay. You know, and I'm all about, if you feel, you know, mentally unwell, please call 988, you know, but I also found myself with people connecting to my sobriety. And I know it can be hard. But at the same time, I don't have good words of wisdom except break it down. If you can't do day by day and that's too rough, break it down minute by minute or hour by hour and just keep going lower and lower. If you have to do millisecond by millisecond, then that's a millisecond that you were sober.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how, and I spent the holiday seasons in prison on second by second, from the month of November, the start of the month of November until January 2nd. I was a basket case, and it was, we would call it white knuckle sobriety, because, you know, you'd be in the cell going, I'm not going to use today. And the bigger the tool bag gets, right, the less of that happens. And what you just said, I think, was the ultimate for me was shrinking my window, right? If I'm not in the future, then all of that fear crap went away. The fear of the unknown is what drives us all insane. And when the normies look at people who have had drug problems and they think, you know, I just don't understand how anybody can let that happen to themselves, right? I don't understand how anybody can't. This, and bear with me, because I realize that it's a weird statement, but it is your attempt, right, to make yourself feel very comfortable in your own skin and be able to work and be able to do all of the things that you need to do, and sail through life, right? And that substance made that easier for you. And I did the same thing. My goal was to find whatever substance was going to make me feel like I wasn't a weirdo and I was all right in my own skin. Like I felt like maybe I was normal, but I unfortunately had to do that every 8 hours for like 30 years. The fact that you've got, you know, the year of alcohol behind you and 3 years of blow behind you is fantastic. It's, you know, it's unbelievable. Now all you have to do is build that bag of tricks and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. In the beginning, I was the one trick pony, and it was a standard joke. But I found out really early on for me that if I changed my physiology big time, right, then my brain could no longer think about doing heroin. So when the urge would come on and I'd start going and like trying to talk myself out of walking 6 feet, right, to the cell down the hall, who's going to give me this for free. And then I have to figure out how to pay him in, you know, 5 or 6 months, because that's how it works in there, right? So all I got to do is walk. And I realized early on that if I just dropped and did push-ups until I literally could not do another one, that my brain could no longer think about smack. It was not possible. So I did a crap load of push-ups, and I did a lot of squats, and I did a lot of exercise, and drove cellmates crazy. And but it was the first trick. I also learned that walking away, is one of the greatest tools ever. And you don't have to be mean. You can be. I look at people all the time and say, you know what, this is completely about me. I'm an ex-heroin addict, and sometimes things happen, and I got to change my environment. So I'll be back in about 5 minutes. And I've never had anybody freak out on me. I've never had anybody treat me bad. But if I can leave the room I'm in, and now I look at different things and I smell different things, right? Everything is different. The sounds, two thoughts don't occupy the same brain at the same time. It doesn't happen. So when we get out in the world and we get all of our senses involved, all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I'm not nearly as pissed off as I was, or I'm not thinking about booze the way that I was. It's not the struggle of, a day. It's usually little 3-minute blocks that we got to get through for that 3 minutes where you're white knuckling it and you're thinking, if you can shift yourself, get out of that room, go for a walk, you get through that first 3 minutes. There are days they don't come back for 2 or 3 weeks. In the beginning, it was this. And, now
that white knuckle.
I can go 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. Now I get a couple of weeks without thinking about getting, wanting to numb myself. And sometimes I'll be journaling and I'll think, holy crap, I haven't written about wanting to get high. And I start going back through pages to try to find, like, when is the last time I wrote about this? But it's just one of those things that the longer that you do it, it's like anything else. The longer that you do it, the easier it gets. But this is the courage to connect is, for me, is the only thing that ever got me sober. I tried to get through heroin addiction for 30 years. I tried to quit, and I tried to do it like this, right? Just tell me he was going to take care of this. I don't want anybody's help. I don't like anybody, and I don't want anybody in my business. I really don't feel like telling people about what's bothering me. I don't want any of that crap. And the amazing thing is that from where I started, now I'm one of those guys that, like, I start feeling some way, I'm on the phone. I know that the opposite of addiction is connection. And I know that for me, the opposite of everything bad is connection. If I connect to people, and the more people that I connect with on a meaningful level, this association that I've had with SPTV has been unbelievable. Because not only did I have an opportunity to meet some incredible human beings, men and women that are showing a kind of strength that I don't think we see very often anymore in this country, sadly. But these women are heroes and have been putting themselves out there, and all of you basically have to do that just to survive. I think that it is so fantastic that a society that abandoned all of you for so long now wants to support you. Every video that I do having anything to do with this, I get more views. This is something people want more of, and they can't get enough of it. And the reason is, I think deep down inside, I don't know that there's too many of us that don't have some responsibility for real. Like, if you sit and think about it, because I crack jokes about crazy Scientologists because I had friends who were, and I used to joke about it routinely, and I knew that there was some pretty ridiculous stuff, but it's really easy to go through life and not give a crap. And I think what's really taking off this fire that's starting to take off right now is people who all want to make up for that. I have high hopes for your sobriety. I really do, man. You can get off of this planet without ever doing that again. That's winning the lottery.
Right? That is winning the lottery. And I know it's, it seems, I don't know if you want to say cliche or if it seems like it's a lot to ask, but I'm trying to be sober and facing a cult that I grew up in. I'm rehashing my memories as a child. I'm going through the most painful situations that I've ever been through, and letting people know, like, hey, I'm covered in scars. Hey, I was emotionally and physically abused my entire life. And that way people can understand we are just human. That's why I say that whole spiel at the end. I'll say, it's not a spiel, actually. It's what I really believe in my heart. It's where you go, please be nice to everybody in the comments. Remember, we're all human. Because realistically, I may look like the person that, you know, is parked next to you at the gas station, but I'm also fighting sobriety. I'm also fighting my addiction, and I'm fighting to let you guys know that this is a cult. It's not a religion, and this is how they treat people. And oh yeah, they told me my dad was dead when I was 24 years old, and then guess what? 19 years later, just kidding, he's not dead. Pay on his bill.
The first time I ever saw you, that was the first time I ever saw you was that day. That the first video came out on that, and this is so hard for people in the real world, in the normal world, to wrap your brain around. And I think one of the important things that needs to come out, that I think is just from and this is addiction. I'm not talking about anything else other than that. I really am not. But facing addiction is it takes a miracle to get sober. Fortunately, they're a dime a dozen, right? People get sober every day, but it does take a miracle. And you're fighting your sobriety, and you're doing it with a different set of equipment than anybody else I've ever met, right? For real. Because as you were growing up in Scientology, the coping mechanisms, coping skills, the things that all of the Scientologists were taught were so different than how we were, that when I work with people who are ex-Scientologists who struggle with addiction, it really is a different thing. It's identical because it's always identical, but it is a very different set of tools. And I think the fact is that you are all so much more willing to communicate than most people that I've met. And I think it's because it's that holy hell, we're free. To. Yeah, right. Holy hell, we're free. I can say whatever the hell I want. I think that's going to serve you well in life and in recovery. The more that you don't keep inside, there's never been a doctor that said, hold that in there as tight as you can. Don't tell anybody about it, and you will get so much better, right? Hold it in. It's never been said because it's absolutely the opposite of what you need to do if you want to heal. This takes huge courage. It really does. I know today sucked. In fact, before I even heard from you, I watched that and because I had seen the earlier video, like I honestly thought of you while I was watching that. I really did. I thought, oh, this has got to be just one hell of a day. But you don't know what the future holds, right? We do this as addicts all the time. It is a disease of addicts, right? Where we go, this is going to happen, and we proclaim it, and we don't have any idea. I don't even know what's going to happen on Wednesday, right? I have this whole host of things that I would like to happen starting this weekend, right? You make plans, and I'm really counting on them happening, but you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. So I try to do exactly what you're talking about. Break them down to the really small. Don't push the future out. In the beginning of your sobriety, keep it short. Keep it short. And if you link together fantastic days, right? Because the argument I get from people is they say, if you live one day at a time, you're never going to be a success. If you live one day at a time and you live that day as if you're on audition for the world, right? To be the absolute best version of you, right? The best Liz ever. And that's how you are going to live this day. And you do that every single day, I promise you, the rest will take care of itself, right? You will not have to worry about the future because within 2 or 3 months of doing that, the toolkit will be bulletproof. The learning to live one day at a time, and honestly learning that process. Pretty soon you're finding yourself just not really giving in to fear, and fear causes every single problem that we have. I promise you. Procrastination, like all of it all comes back to fear. And if we communicate, like since childhood, right? If you think there's something under the bed, right? If you can say that out loud and there's somebody there to go, no, there isn't. Usually that's a pretty good thing. I would encourage everybody to talk, tell people what's going on with you. If there's something that's hurting, for the love of God, get it out. So can I ask you a couple of questions about your dad? Are you open to it? Okay. So shoot. It is a jacked situation, right? The way that I looked at it, and I was never in, but I have been deep diving now for a really long time, and I've had friends that were in for years. But I figure he had to have gotten away, right? There was no reason that they would have reached out to family. For those who don't know, she found out that her dad was alive in a jacked up way, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but they reached out to you and said, "Hey, where's your dad?" Right?
No,
Or
it was when are
he
you
owes
gonna
us money or something.
you need to pay on his freeloader debt. Um and then, I was just kind of like, he's dead. Like, I didn't know that they could collect after a dead man, but I was like, oh crap, do I have to pay on this bill? Because yes, I grew up in Scientology. My whole life has been wrapped around Scientology one way or another. And then I met the most amazing person who helped me realize that I was brought up in a cult. So I stewed on it for a little bit because literally it was not even like, it didn't even feel like a 1 minute conversation before this woman hung up on me. And so I stewed on it for a couple days, and then I reached out to Claire and I'm like, has the collection policy changed? Can you collect on a dead person? I'm Bob Ferris's daughter. I know he died in 2004. And she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let me talk to my husband, but I don't know. He was alive in 2005. And that just sunk my heart because I'm like, all those thoughts go through your head. I could have been a daughter reaching out. I could have seen him on holidays. I could have been sending him clothes, food. Well, not food, but like gummy bears or something. I don't know. Or like sent him my favorite and been like, here's some hot tamales. Or yeah, I think they're called hot tamales.
Yeah,
the little things. And I could have sent him some Pokemon and been like, oh my God, this is what I'm into now. And it's so amazing.
This
And
is
it's the
coolest
cutest thing ever. But instead I'm told that he's dead. And now I know that not that I know, but I have it on good authority. Let's put it that way, that he is alive. And I still haven't laid eyes on him. I still haven't made, heard his voice. But it's hard today because today it was like listening to that story. Oh, the mom had a heart attack, and so he went to the hospital, and that's when he was allowed to make contact.
It was heart-wrenching. It really was a
and
tough
I'm
story.
sitting there like, at any moment, like, okay, so my dad has to be near death, and I don't want it to be that he's on his last few days, and I finally get to see him, or his family finally gets to have their brother back.
Right.
And so that's where I've been most of today. And, it stressed me out to the point, it stressed me out to the point
parts all day. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just those situations where it's like, I'm not procrastinating anything, but now all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes. I'm starting to cry. Like, am I really getting him back when he's near death? Like, he's alive now. Like, if he's alive, let him go. But then it's like, I'm doing the best I can. I'm growing my channel. Again, I'm 170 away from having the 1,000 subscribers where they give you the commercials and then they reach out to the other people and all that good stuff. I had to read like the whole rules.
The real deal. Congratulations. That's awesome.
And I have like 600 hours left, 600 hours until I've reached the 4,000.
That is way harder than the 1,000 subscribers. The 4,000 hours is the part that people don't get.
That is what the wonderful Vaboop told me. She's like, that's harder to reach. That is
absolutely harder. Make no mistake.
But I'm sitting there and I'm like, and then you also have the people where it's like, these people have been so kind to me, and I'm like, man, I didn't grow up with this. I
get it. I promise you on this one, we understand each other. I went into prison, the world's biggest dirtbag, right? And I got sober when I was in prison, but I didn't just come out, right? So I came out And I had a brother who was on YouTube that had 130,000 subscribers, and I look exactly like him. Right. I mean, I literally, and at that point I had the goatee. Like I looked so much like Johnny. It was when I left prison, I got to the airport and it was right in the middle of the pandemic. And so I had a mask on with my goatee sticking through it. And a cop walked up to me and said, I know who you are. And my thoughts, my head's like, holy crap, I just left prison and they're going to bust my balls at the airport. Like I haven't even, I've done nothing. So I'm reaching for my ID, my prison ID. And he's like, you're the dude on the internet that eats the peppers, right? And I looked at him, I was like, oh my God, he thinks I'm my brother. Like, but all of a sudden I was Johnny's little brother and everybody loved me. And it was the weirdest thing in the world. And I didn't like it at all. Like I really didn't. It tripped me out. It was my least favorite part of this whole thing, was all of the people that all of a sudden were just really, really nice. And I'm getting better at it. It's it's a struggle. I think for addicts, I think that's a hard thing. It's
because we've broken so many people. Like that's the best way I can explain it. I broke so many people choosing to go buy an 8-ball instead of going to hang out with friends. I ran out of this 8-ball. Oh, I got to go buy another one. I was a 3 8-ball a day person.
Ouch.
I'm pretty shocked that I have a nose, to be honest.
People, if you don't have perspective, that's a ton of blow. That really
that's like
is.
a tennis ball.
A lot of cocaine. No, that's
a friend of mine said it's close to a tennis ball once.
Yeah,
it's like if you can get an idea, it's about a tennis ball.
It's more than I was doing in heroin, and I was doing about 7 grams a day in heroin. So you were doing more blow than I was. That's incredible. That really is a lot of cocaine. God bless you.
Yeah,
I got a quick one. I promise I'm going to make this quick, but it is so important to what you're going through. The last 12 years, before I got out of prison, so I went off the deep end when I really went into crime, and I really went nuts. I just didn't care, and the reason I didn't is my first wife. I sent her to rehab, and she fell in love with another woman, which I was fine with. Truthfully, if this was going to be sobriety for her, I was rooting for her. I really was, and I was bummed out because I still loved her, but. When she left, she said, "You're never seeing your daughter again." Like it was cut and dry. There was no ambiguity. You're not going to be a part of this child's life in any way, shape, or form. You're a criminal. You're a piece of shit. And you're not going to be around. And it became my number one reason for all of the drugs that I did. It was my number one reason for bank robberies. It was my number one reason for everything. And because I lived in the future, right? I already was 18 years down the road. She was graduating from high school, right? And hated me. And I was already at the graduation, like on my knees, begging for forgiveness that I wasn't there to be a dad. And I built this scenario in my head and I lived in it. And it crippled me for decades. Like it really did. And my daughter's my best friend. I talk to her every day. And I didn't think I was ever going to know her, you know what I mean? So you truthfully don't know what the future holds. And I would say that for the first time in your life, you've got a lot of friends that you don't know who are getting really pissed off because stories like we're just going to lie to a daughter and tell her that her father is dead. Like that kind of horse crap makes people like me and my ilk. It makes your blood boil. And I think you're going to run into a lot more support than you think. And I think that you don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, and I don't. And you're right. Like thinking 18 years ahead, I'm still stuck in not stuck in, but it's like someone asked me once, what was it like to not have someone on your team growing up? Like someone going to baseball games, someone going to graduations. Anybody in my corner. I was always alone. Especially once my Nana died. I was that kid that had nobody show up at the events. And so it was like, is that gonna be what's happening? And then I'm sinking like, oh my God, I'm putting myself in this deep, dark depression hole. And I'm like, no, I've got a beautiful wife, kids, we've got, far too many dogs, but if the boop wants to give me Elvis, I will take Elvis. because Elvis is a part of our pack. And Bruno. I might take Bruno Mars because he's just the cutest thing ever. But then it's like I've got a sister in Vaboop. I've got people that are reaching out to me and saying, you know what, you've touched me. And I'm like, and they're getting me like Pokemon cards, the Leah Remini stuff, everything to make me smile. And then it's like, oh my God, like I've hated Christmas and my birthday for so long that it's like, I don't know how to be now that people are actually showing that they care about me, and I'm not having to put up this fake facade about, you know, how I grew up, what I grew up, any of that. And it's like, they're still on my team helping me get my dad out. And so it's like, you know, sorry, I'm having a moment.
You know what? I think that's cool as hell, to be really honest with you. I cry more than any man. I maybe AA around might have me beat, but I cry a lot on the show. So I seriously, tears are good things. I've never once thought that they weren't. They're really good things. Yeah, don't give up on that hope. You know,
and it's hard because, you know, the love of my life has an amazing dad, and he, oh God, if anybody tried to cross her, if anybody tried to cross him, oh Lord have mercy, I better have a jail fund because you know we're gonna need to, you know, post bail. But I love your message because your message teaches people the same thing I've always thought, that it's minute by minute if you have to. And, you know, I prefer minute by minute.
And you know what? It works. And the other thing is this, truthfully, and this was brought to me by somebody on the boat, and I didn't start this way, but if a person says to me on January 1st, you know what, I'm done. I don't ever want to do this. Like, this is it. I don't ever want to be an addict again. I promise you, Tommy, like, this is it. And, you know, on July 17th, you know, the guy has 6 beers and realizes that he screwed up, and he calls me at 4 a.m. and this happened. Like, I'm telling you a story that literally happened. And he said, I just blew all of that time. You know what I mean? And I'm starting from scratch. And I'm like, no, you're not. What the hell are you talking about? Like, I don't understand why that was ever a concept, right? No, you quit drinking on January 1, right? You effed up one night in July. But if you go back to the mindset of, all right, I'm starting from scratch. Well, if you're starting from scratch, why bother, right? We may as well take 2 or 3 more days off, and then we'll get cream because we're starting from scratch, right? Who cares? You're not starting from scratch. All of that time counts, right? All that time counts, and everything you learned during that time counts. And I'm of the firm belief that relapses can be awful, and they can be fantastic, and they can be perfect, right? The perfect relapse is the last one. It's the one that happens and you go, holy shit, I know exactly what I'm going to do to make sure that never happens again, right? And I remember it was a really weird situation where, you know, it was a black guy in a federal prison that a white and a black thing is really frowned on. But this was a dude that said, there's nothing I won't do to keep you from doing dope. Like, if you're willing to say that you're going to do this, there's nothing I won't do. And to hear somebody say there's nothing I won't do, right? No reason whatsoever, right? He's going to catch mad crap for trying to help me because I'm white. And, you know, that was enough. So I think that the message that I'm hoping that the lifeboat gives is that, you know, everybody here says there's not much I won't do to make sure that you don't use. So we give out our numbers and we say stuff like, you know, if it's 4 a.m, you know, call me. Well, I may bitch at you 7 days later. Like, God, you couldn't have done that at 8 a.m. But I promise you, the night that you call, I'm not going to complain. And it's tough. You know, we're getting better now at shifting, because when I first started the lifeboat, I was pretty much it, and I got really addicted to it, and I got in really over my head. And you know, there were times where I was probably working with, I don't know, 30 or 40 people, and not sleeping a lot, you know, different countries. And I almost ran myself into the ground. Fortunately, I've met some people that are a lot smarter than I am, and are helping me to get this a little bit more organized, so that so that I don't burn myself out, and that we can keep it going. It has really brought a very eclectic group of people together. It really has, and it's going to make a heck of a party one day. It really is. It'll bring everybody together, and you can party without drugs. I promise.
That's right.
You.
I do it all the time.
I do it every day. Yeah, exactly. I do it every day.
You know.
So you do know about the official, right? And this is official. And do you know how you can tell that this is official? Because I said it's official. This is the official participation trophy of the lifeboat, and this has been pulled out very early on in the lifeboat. I said to somebody once, "Boy, congratulations! You know, you had made it 5 years, and it was so fantastic." And somebody said, "How do you not have a trophy?" Like really poo-pooed me. So we got the participation trophy for 3 years, and for a year sober off of booze, and more importantly, for today, right? Because this one was a bitch. I'm proud as hell of you for getting through today, and I think that you are a stronger sober person today than you were yesterday, and that ought to be the dream, right? That's it.
Yeah.
If every day you're just a little bit more solid in your sobriety, and you also made more connections today on a deeper level with people, and that's going to help. You have people that you can reach out to, and that you can count on, and that goes a long way. It really does.
I mean, I do have the support, which makes it super nice. Like I wouldn't give up Carrie for anything. And I did hear you say that you had met someone. So I'm like, you know, it's few and far between that we meet someone that makes us smile and that
It's
is
true.
there for us. So it's like
true. There
you
are
got to
very
hold
few
on
people.
tight.
There are very few people on the planet that make you smile. And you know, one of the greatest parts of being sober is that you no longer leave a wrecking of bodies in the wake. You know what I mean? I like you said, that struck such a chord with me when you talked about all of the people that you hurt along the way, because you needed another 8-ball, or yeah, I was the guy that stole. Like I was going to steal, and if it meant hurting somebody, I was going to get the heroin. I needed it, and there was never a day that I wasn't going to have it. So it that struck a chord with me. And it was weird because this morning I did an interview where there's a lot of people that would really like me to just sort of come on and tell you all of the money I stole and how I did it and how much fun it was. And you know what? It wasn't all that much fun. It really wasn't. It really wasn't. Yeah. It was just a way to get money to do dope. And they glorify it in movies, but most bank robbers are just desperate guys that need to put a needle on their arm, twice a day. Sadly, that really is the people that tend to get desperate enough to walk into banks to do that. So are you absolutely committed to reaching out?
Absolutely.
I want you to know that I would absolutely be honored to be considered part of your support family. And if for any reason you need any help, look at that. I love seeing a little Russ. It's a good dude. If you need support or help in any kind, in any way, you just don't hesitate, not for any second. SPTV Tattoo Warrior. Boy, you know what? Like I said, these are just, these are the greatest people. They really are. It's been such a blessing to meet all of you. It's I wish that I could do it all over again. I swear to God, I do. And
see, and I
the
love
reason
how you
is,
did it.
you know what? I'm so fascinated. I've never met a group of people in my life that I'm more intrigued by than second gen Scientologists. I really and I don't mean that like a zoo. I mean that like this is just a group of survivors that are just some of the toughest people I've ever met, and yet they have incredible senses of humor and just seem to love life. And it's just a hard thing to wrap my brain around, but I'm super, super impressed. I really am.
And
such a
for
blessing
me,
to be alive today. I love it.
For me, honestly, the first time I saw you, I was like, so you were in prison. Okay, whoop-de-doo. We were in prison, in our own little prison. And then when we got out of Scientology, some of us created this prison inside of ourselves where we were scared to acknowledge what we'd been through or say out loud, I was abused. You know,
Right.
it becomes this secret. And the fact that you were sober and you were doing it and you were a never end. I'm so impressed with the never ends, you know, whether it's the one that adopted me as my other mom, or her husband, the dad, or Poe, which I've claimed as my other, you know, my other father figure that I would love to have. But you guys acknowledge us and don't treat us differently, because a lot of times we were used to be, I know I was used to being treated poorly because of growing up in a cult, and then being treated poorly because I was gay, or being treated poorly because I wasn't a good person. So those ones I do understand,
Right.
when I wasn't a good person.
Right. I think that there's one of the reasons that jumps off the page is that I definitely am treated differently by second gens. There has never been one that looked at me like I was a convict, and when I say, I don't mean look down your nose. I mean literally look at you. If you've done enough time and you mention that you've been in prison, there's a look that you see, and it's a very unmistakable look, and you will see it in people that you really wish that you didn't, like family members or whatever, when they find out, and you just know that you're probably not going to be treated the same ever again. And I've never met anybody that was a second gen that ever looked at me that I think that they're kind of fascinated that I was in this sort of a prison life, and that they were in a prison life. And there is a reason I think that there's a synergy between the two communities. It does make a lot of sense to me. It didn't in the beginning, but the more that I have had a chance to really interact with everyone, and honestly, it's been fantastic. It really has. It's like I did a video earlier today. I'm pissed. You know, that last video really, really angered me and upset me. And you know what? I'm just a little YouTuber. You know, I got 10,000 subscribers. I'm a little YouTuber, but I get people to listen to me, and I'm gonna throw shit at that church because it's not a church. And yep, they messed with the wrong convict. And I think that I'm not alone. There's a lot of people that are just getting really pissed off that this has been going on for a really long time, and this country failed, and you know, a lot of people did, but I, for one, am never going to be accused of not getting involved, because I'm going to be a dick and make sure that they don't like me. That's that.
Oh, mischief.
Mischief. Let's see. It always amazes me that the second gens are such amazing people, considering they had little to or no parental love and guidance. It's, you know what? I was talking with a second gen about this, and it's like Lord of the Flies. Like, it really is, isn't it? I mean, and I don't know. I think you did a pretty amazing job. It's maybe it's why I'm so fascinated. I am of the firm belief that had I been put in the same situation, there's no way I would have turned out the way that you all did. I mean, I had perfect parents. Like, I had great parents. All of my brothers and sisters did fine. And I ended up the way I did. If I had gone through any of the things that you guys had gone through, I'd be a serial killer. I would have been something really horrendous. I know I would have. And I'm just really, I'm so blown away by the fact that it didn't beat the kindness out of every one of you. You're some of the kindest.
It kind of
did
a few times. It kind of did for me a few times. It beat the. No one's. It was that no one's ever gonna love me. No one's ever gonna give a shit about me. Like, this is how my life is going to be for the rest of my life. You know, because I went from abuse to more abuse to, you know, then we're leaving, and then additional abuse, and then it's like seeing my aunt get abused, and then it was like, okay, so I'm gonna live with this forever. Like, this is
right,
bloody fantastic, you know. And then rejoin the, you know, Scientology. I signed my billion-year contract, and then I'm doing unethical things, or at least things that I find unethical. Like, why am I wrapping birthday presents for Kirstie Alley's kids? Like, I don't know them. Like, how is that clearing the planet? You know?
yeah, right.
You want me to move some stuff and help you find something because you lost it? oh, okay, because that's me clearing the planet. You want me to scream at someone until their soul, it's almost like every bit of their soul's left the building. Done that too, and went on decks, was ready to die. Like, my route out was not kind. And then hearing people say, oh, it wasn't that bad for me. It's like, how are you so lucky? Because mine was shit.
You know what?
Mine is the stuff of nightmares.
I am not a fan of people that say things like, and this goes to addiction, this goes to prison, this goes to anything. I knew some guys that I had friends in prison that were not 6'2", 230 pounds, right? And there's something to be said for being a big guy. And I know some guys that went through prison a whole hell of a lot tougher than I did. And I would never say, yeah, you know what? That wasn't so bad on me. It just is a really messed up thing to say. I hope that everybody listening realizes that, you know what? It's a different experience with every single one of you. There's a thread thick as hell that runs through the entire thing, but everyone is different. And I see it because I'm a fly on the wall that's really getting a chance to know a lot of you on a really kind of a cool, deep level. And it's really bizarre to see how the different pockets were affected differently. And, depending on what part of the country you were in, and depending on, there's just so many variables, but the common denominator is these people, what they do to families is literally soulless, and something has to be done about it. Right now, the good news is this, on the channel, like, how many times have you heard people say, well, you know what? You can't choose your family. You get what you get. And that's kind of how it works. I'll tell you something. That's BS. You hear me? That's absolute BS. You can choose your family. I have a brother of mine who's black. I promise you that dude's my brother. He's in prison. He is my brother. And I've absolutely assembled a family of people that I met on the boat who are the best people I've met. And they are family, hell or high water. So if the initial one didn't work out exactly perfect, then absolutely build yourself one. And you know what? Pick exactly what you're looking for, right? This is a chance to shop with an unlimited credit card. Build that family. People that will support you going forward. And I don't think you're going to have a problem finding people. And I assure you, you're loved. A large audience of people that would back me up on this one instantly, but I assure you, you are loved. And I think that this needs to continue to happen. I don't think that there can be enough of this. It's cathartic, right? It really is. To come out and just speak and to talk about what's going on is cathartic. This is connection. And we're in a grand experiment, right? It probably would have fascinated the scumbag that started Scientology, right? I think that Lafayette may have been fascinated by this, but this is what they wanted the internet to be. You understand that? Like, for real, the dreamers, this is what they wanted it to be. And, porn sites and, the lowest common denominator takes over always. And the internet ended up being really snide and really crappy and brought people down. And I think we're seeing a renaissance. I swear to God, I do. I mean, if you knew the number of people that said to me, you're gonna do a channel where twice a day you talk about why you shouldn't do drugs, good luck with that, right? You'll be lucky if you get 7 views. And I was content with 7 views. I just thought,
yeah, me too.
It should exist. You know what I mean? And but the truth of the matter is, we live in a generation that there's never been anything like this, and we're connecting, and people from all over the world are connecting, and it's a force for good. And I want to tell you something. There's a hell of a lot more of us than there is of them, right?
Yeah,
that's going to start sinking in real quick. Start looking at the number of people who are subscribers on all of these channels. If I were those scumbags at OSA, I'd be really nervous. I really would, because there's a crap load of us. And you know what? Some of us are a little rough around the edges, right?
Yep.
There's a few of us out here that are just a little rough around the edges. So I would never think of doing anything like those people would do, right? I didn't.
Yeah, all I know is,
and end up with 3 prison rips by. Yeah, maybe we'll meet someday. That would be great. I would love
absolutely. Because then
hopefully
there won't be tears involved.
No, there will. I guarantee you that there will. But that's,
Oh,
you know what, that's a good thing. I'd be honored, when you start putting that family together. You want an Italian older brother, you just reach out. You got my number, and it's I'm not joking. This has really been an honor, and I appreciate it. And any single time you want to talk or you want to do this, reach out. I think that the more we do this, and the more that there's crossover, and the more that people discuss it, because there's a ton of people listening to us right now that have drug problems, and they're doing everything they can to bury them. And I get it. She gets it. But you know what? The most courageous thing that you can do is just admit that you have it, and then reach out, because it's really easy to find people right now on the net that would love to talk to you about getting clean. And then, you know what? It goes for everything else too. If you're hurting, good God, in 2023, if you're hurting alone, you're suffering alone, there's something wrong with that. There really is. There are so many different avenues right now of people that are really trying to change the world. I mean, honestly, these little pockets of cool people that are getting together and saying, you know what, let's just love one another and be kind. Like, that crap's happening. It really is. So, and it's not drug induced, and it doesn't cost anything. So
right.
I say we keep rolling with that. Right. Love is a good thing. There's
yes. Love is truly, and it doesn't have to be, for those ex-Scientologists in the chat, it doesn't have to be the weird awkwardness. You could always have a gay older sister, gay younger sister,
Sure, you can.
If you need a niece, I'm there, if you just need someone, we can all be there for each other, because you know what, we all struggle, and it's what we do with this struggle. Why did I want to go live? Because I wanted to talk to Tommy, and I wanted you guys to see that even I struggle. So that way you understand that it's okay to struggle. It's what you do at the end of that struggle.
Amen. And I'll make you a promise. If you're having one of those days, and you had every reason to have one of those days, if you're having one of those days and you do not get it out, right, it will trash you. I'm big on journaling, right? You write down what's in your head before you go to sleep. You write down what's in your head when you get up in the morning, because that way you don't walk around with files that shouldn't be doing what it's doing. And honestly, that happens. And it used to happen to me all the time. I would go to bed just ridiculously pissed off at somebody. And that's how I would lay down. And I promise you that if that's how you go to sleep, you do not wake up a very happy human being. You usually wake up pretty messed up. And it's another one of my little tools. But I keep real short accounts. If I'm upset about something, I write it down. And if I'm having a bad day, I write it down. And if that's not enough, then I reach out to somebody and I just say to them, I'm hurting. And you know what? It goes against all of, especially if you're a convict and you're tough or all of that crap, and and you're tattooed, to say, hey, I'm having a really bad time or I'm hurting is a thing that for a very long time has been looked at as less than, you're not tough or you're not whatever. I think we're finally getting to a point where people are saying, you know what, it's pretty courageous crap, for people to come out and say, hey man, I'm in a bad place and I need help. I think that's one of the most courageous things in the world. And I think it's catching on. I think people are starting to realize that.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost getting to be cool. We hang out a little longer. It just might be cool.
Yeah. Because it's okay to ask for help. We all suffer. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to reach out to your sister. It's okay to reach out to the woman you love, the man you love, whatever it may be.
Yep.
There were days that when I was alone and I didn't have my love, I talked to my dog, because my dog was my savior.
Hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
We would sit there and I would tell him how my day went. And I would be like, Bambino, this is how my day was. And, as long as I got it out, then that's all that mattered.
You know what? This is I've got friends that are firing off text messages that are just super impressed. Really, the subject matter in general, and you know what? This is I'm just going to be super honest, right? And this is really funny because Matt Cox said this to me this morning after the interview. Boy, this was way better than I thought it was going to be. And I don't mean that. I don't mean that I came in with thinking that this was going to be awful, because I didn't. I thought that this was going to be great. But this is This is a lot of fun, and you know what? It's probably the best demonstration of literally like exactly what we're talking about, right? We're two different people from two different worlds who absolutely have been in separate prisons and who care enough about each other to come together and talk. Liz and I really are here to witness, support, and hold space for you both. Every person trying their hardest, all of it. You know what? I love this. I really do. And
Yep. That is all about the vaboop.
You toss a rock into the middle of a lake and it creates a ripple. And I've done shows on it. I've done a bunch of shows on it. But I'm telling you, the one person, you have no idea what one person that you affect, how it changes the entire world, right? One sober person, one person that gets out of that prison in Scientology, it changes the world forever, right? Your kids, everybody whose lives you touch, my life, you getting out has affected my life. It's absolutely amazing the power in just helping one person. And it sounded really kind of Pollyannish and pipe dreamish in the beginning. And no joke, I had a guy in a prison cell who was not very bright, nicest kid I ever met, but he was not very bright, kind of Forrest Gumpy. And I told him I was planning on doing this. And he said, "You're going to try to save the entire world?" He's like, "It's way too much pressure. You're going to end up doing dope." He's like, you're going to relapse. He's like, "You should just save 6 people." I said, 6 would be the good number. He's like, "Yeah, 6." And he goes, "It's a doable number. 10's probably a little bit high." And I'm like, "And what happens after I save 6?" And he said, "Save 6 more." And it floored me. You know, it left me in a cell thinking it's probably a pretty good idea. And there's been a shitload of 6s. We've been blessed as hell. And truthfully, I'm not arrogant enough to think that it's because of the massive amount of wisdom that spits from the front of the room, but the connection that takes place in the comment section. If you've never been to the boat, and if you've never been any of these, because truthfully, Aaron's, all of them, any of the SPTV umbrella, anywhere you see people that really connect. It's not random comments or things that people that people put up to be funny. You see that stuff, but then you see some really deep connection, and it's a pretty beautiful thing. This interview has the love rolling tonight. What a great comment. Thanks, Stephen. That is a really cool thing to say. Coltsby Colton, is that the name? That is such a cool name. Coltsby Colton. Take some time and play Liz's videos to get her those watch hours. It will be huge to help her get with the cause of, and you know what? The cause of helping her find her dad. No question, right? Absolutely. And thank you so much. I don't know your name, but Coltsby Colton, thank you so much, because this is such a fantastic point. I mean, you talk about the greatest chance whatsoever. Hey, this is a day and age where a lot of people are going to go, and, the day is going to come, and you're going to be all over the place. You're going to be all over the place, and it's going to be
and that'll be okay, because realistically, they won't kick him out unless I'm as loud as possible. So if that means telling everybody what's going on and the good, the bad, the ugly, so that you guys can understand, then I'll do that, and I'm going to have good days and I'm going to have bad days. It's just, I've got a mission, and my mission is getting anyone that wants to get out.
All right. So if I could get one of my mods, I can't see my chat, right? But this is one of the problems of doing it this way. But if one of my mods could please put a link up to Liz, so that we can get her to the 1,000, right? So let's everybody just love bomb over there right now. She's almost there in hours, which I'm telling you, that's the stretch. If you're almost there, that really is way ahead of the game. You can get a bunch of subs really quickly. Getting a bunch of hours really quickly gets a little bit tougher. Also, if you're watching this on my channel, watch it on hers. For real. Jump over there. We don't need the hours. Or you could back up and watch it again, right? Why don't you fall asleep that way? It's an excellent way to go to sleep. I assure you, going to sleep tonight listening to Liz's voice is going to be, I'm recommending it. That's highly recommended by Captain Tommy Skelton. You don't want to mess with the captain. For real, I'll get angry. Great way to go to sleep. Okay, believe it or not, this is my 8th hour. 8th hour of live broadcasting today, which is a little bit heavier than I normally do. This is slightly more than my normal workload of 2 hours, but it's been a hell of a day. It really has. Liz, this has been the highlight of my day, and I did some really cool stuff today. I did an interview with a podcast with a pretty famous YouTuber, but this interview was way more fun. It really was, and I'm honored, and I hope that you will do this with me again.
Absolutely. I will.
And if you find yourself in a bad day, call me and we'll just go live. We'll work through it while people watch. Why not? Right?
Yeah. I do want to say one big thing, because that's how I normally close it.
Please do.
Please tip your waiter or waitress. Be nice to everyone in the comments. Remember, we're all human. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And everyone, have a great day. A higher power is just a higher power.
And that's a cat in the basket. Sorry, but that's how I end every show.
Isn't your cat's name Squirrel?
She is. My cat's name is Squirrel. And funny story, we had a vote and the crew named her Squirrel. Then I went to a shelter to get a save cat, right? And I said, I want the cat in the second cage. And the woman said, it doesn't work like that because there's cages on every wall. So just go get the paper off the back and it will have the name of the cat on it. And the name of the cat was Squirrel. How's that? So I didn't even have to change her name. The odds, it looked definitely like it was divinely inspired. So Squirrel Nut Zipper has been the lifeboat cat since. And if I sit here in the chair and I start talking, she gets in the basket because like everybody else, I put her to sleep. Big yawn right there. Okay, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And she's right, people. We're all human, right? Even if some of us pretend we're not. All right. Do your stuff, smart woman, because I don't know what I'm doing. That is hopefully my producer just did this because truthfully, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Right? We have the smart girl here. In theory,